Fan theory of Mulan. Disney's 1998 film Mulan is a modern-day classic, as the millions of fans who have memorized every word of "I'll make a man out of you" can attest. Mulan is one of the Disney's fiercest heroes, joining the army in her father's stead while attempting to keep her identity hidden. Even on its own, the movie is one of the Disney's best, but fans who have rewatched it dozens of times have cooked up some theories that are too good to ignore. Many of the theories explain away the story's gap in clever, satisfying ways. Others attempt to connect Mulan with other films in the Disney canon. Some of them are just downright creative, and they all bring a little something extra to this timeless film. These Mulan fan theories remind us that there's still a lot to learn about the original animated film. Number 1. Children are Mulan's girls worth fighting for. Mulan's music is one of the film's most memorable aspects. In the song "A Girl Worth Fighting For," all the men in Mulan's regiment sing about how they are in combat to protect the women they love back home. This does not apply to Mulan, as she is there because of her father, but the theory contests that she is also fighting for a girl. The song ends rather bleakly as the unit stumbles upon a decimated village. Mulan stops to pick up a doll, symbolizing that Mulan is actually fighting for all the little girls of China. This is not the first moment involving a doll either. Earlier in the film, Mulan swipes a doll from a little boy and returns it to the crying girl she took it from. Number 2. The Great Stone Dragon was purposefully silent to help Mulan. The Great Stone Dragon knows Mulan extremely well because she is always praying to it for advice. When Mushu attempts to awaken the Great Stone Dragon in order to fetch Mulan, it refuses. It understands that Mulan is honorable and doing the right thing, so it lets her go. Defying the ancestor will may have ultimately led to the dragon's destruction, but it is willing to sacrifice itself to help Mulan. Number 3. Mulan's father is supposed to train his inexperienced regiment. The whole reason Mulan joins the army is to keep her father, Fa Zhou, out of the conflict. Although he is an experienced and renowned warrior, Zhou is past his prime and suffers from physical ailment. So why did Chinese forces want him in their ranks so badly? Mulan's troop is clearly a band of misfits. The young, inexperienced captain struggles to keep his men accomplishment, even basic training, and he is quite obviously in over his head. The theory suggests that Zhou was not enlisted to become a foot soldier. Instead, he was to be assigned as an officer over the misfit troop. Given his experience in conflict, the notion of the Chinese army seeking him out for such a position is fairly logical. Number 4. Han the horse was Fa Zhou's guardian. Mushu is Mulan's dragon guardian, but he is not only the creature sent to help Mulan on her journey. They believe the Fa family horse, Han, is actually Fa Zhou's guardian, just as Mushu is Mulan. This is backed by the fact that Khan seems incredibly intelligent and goes out of his way to save Mulan on several occasions. Han was likely granted Zhou as protection by his ancestors when he first went into combat, but Khan was not needed once Zhou retired. This is why he can travel with and guide Mulan to save the entire Chinese empire. Mulan is not actually the real hero of the story, and the Chinese empire would have fallen if not for her little dragon Mushu. At one point in the film, Mushu and Lucky Cricket forge a letter and give it to Mulan's commanding officer Li Shang. This leads the unit into combat and ultimately restores Mulan's honor. The letter contains to be from Shang's father regiment and requests immediate assistance. So the troops move out. They eventually cross paths with Hans, who are marching towards the empire with designs on taking it over. Shang's unit engages with the Han forces and severely cripples their army, clearing the path of the empire's eventual victory. This only occurred thanks to Mushu's letter, making him the most important asset in the conflict against the Hans. Number 6. Fa Zhou risked his own life to protect his fellow soldiers in the Goguryeo Su War. Fa Zhou is shown to be famous and respected warrior. Even high-ranking officials recognize his name. Although the film takes plenty of liberties, Mulan is based on a real person. Using clues from both the movie and the real-life story, Mulan is taking place during the Su dynasty. During this period, China engaged in numerous conflicts with the Korean Goguryeo kingdom. Fa Zhou was possibly conscripted as a young man in the Goguryeo Su War and participated in the first offensive against the Goguryeo kingdom. It is not until the second conflict that Fa Zhou became the renowned hero seen in the film. This campaign was disastrous for the Su forces, and many were forced to retreat into enemy territory. Fa Zhou may have chosen to stay with his men rather than retreat on his own, and he may have even helped facilitate their safe retreat. Number 7. 7. Mulan is the stone dragon. According to this theory, Mulan herself embodies the legendary statue. The thematic theory suggests that the spirit of the great stone dragon resides in Mulan all along. Her choice to take her father's place in the conflict is the spirit awakening in her, and her journey forges her into a powerful warrior who, in essence, is the great stone dragon. Number 8. The great stone dragon's power was exhausted, protecting Mulan's father. The great stone dragon fell apart because it had already exhausted itself, serving Mulan's father, Zhu. Zhu is a renowned warrior who brought honor to his family in combat, and this theory suggests that the great stone dragon aided him in order to propel the Fa family out of poverty. The dragon helped Zhu climb the ranks and put his family on the map, though both of them sacrificed much in process. The dragon grew weak and the Zhu suffered a permanent physical ailment. When Mulan requested help from the great stone dragon years later, its power was already expended. Number 9. Mushu is trying to eliminate Mulan to regain the family's honor. Mushu is nowhere near as benevolent as he seems. Mushu was summoned for the sole purpose of re-establishing the family's honor, and he decided the best way to do so is to lead Mulan to an honorable end in combat. This would explain why he forges the letter ordering Shang's unit to seek out the Huns. Mulan would likely perish in combat against them. He could then return to the family's ancestor and tell them that Mulan has restored their honor. Number 10. Aliens took the little brother and transformed him into Stitch from Lilo and Stitch. This theory ties two classic Disney films together into the same universe. Their theory suggests that Mulan's dog, little brother, looks significantly like the alien experiment Stitch from Lilo and Stitch. According to this theory, little brother was taken by the mad scientist Zumba and experimented upon sometimes after the events of Mulan, ultimately becoming the lovable Stitch. Number 11. The war is a false flag. This Mulan theory suggests that with dragons being real, just trying to even really need that strong of an army to repel Han invasion, would this invasion really be a false flag designed to exterminate growing numbers of the men within China so as to retain control of the population? Number 12. The emperor is not that great and Shan Yu is not that evil. This theory suggests that the emperor of China in Mulan is not as nice as we have all been led to believe. The nameless emperor in Mulan is portrayed as a wise and regal old man benevolently ruling China, but actually he is a massive jerk, and here's the reason why. We'll start with the history bit and work our way from there. In the movie, Shan Yu and the emperor both state that he built the Great Wall. Now I don't know how much you paid attention to these social studies, but I remember quite clearly that the Great Wall's construction involved a lot of slave labor, and that in some sections the bodies of people who died during its construction are buried underneath the wall. So if the emperor in Mulan is the same guy who did all of that, he clearly gets a plus 1000 on the evil scale. Now let's examine the way he ruled. Dude sits on a throne and delegates like your average ruler. He even goes so far as to command that his people be protected from the Huns, which is great, but other than that one comment, when did you ever see him make another decision about the war ever? I think that if your people were being invaded, you would be taking an active role in organizing troops and giving commands, but that never happened. In fact, his military system has so many holes that a letter forged by a cricket and delivered by a dragon riding a panda had enough power to mobilize troops and send them marching off to their possible death. If that's a reflection of your leadership skills, you clearly suck at this. Next, let's look at the people that are under his direct command, shall we? As an emperor, you should be surrounded by wise and kind people to help you rule your empire, right? But emperor in Mulan does not seem to have that. From what I have seen, he has one general and advisor. When his castle was stormed and he was taken hostage, there was no one else is there to defend him. How the hell did that happen? You telling me he didn't have guards or advisors or anyone to stand between him and the Huns? Also, that one advisor that we do see is mean and rude and incredibly sexist. You can be and are judged by the friends you keep, and if that's your right hand man who you trust with all the affairs of your empire, then you are a shit human being. Lastly, in Mulan 2, the emperor literally sells his daughters. No explanation whatsoever was given to why he had to send them to marry princess in King Kong, but sent them he did. First off, where the hell did he even get daughters from? They were not even a thing in the first movie. They they show up out of nowhere. Second, anyone with eyes would see that your daughters had a miserably strict upbringing and that they are not to get married to those princes in King Kong. You Emperor are a terrible father. And third and final, you don't even have a good excuse to be making them miserable. Your Emperor is not in dire need of an alliance. This is not a vital trade agreement. None of that stuff. You are just sending them off to be miserable. Jerk face. So there you have it. The Emperor is not a wise and loving grandpa, but rather a neglectful and prideful jackass. Shan Yu, on the other hand, is not as much of an evil villain as we thought. Shan Yu is the Disney villain of Mulan who invades China, attempts to take over. He is portrayed as a silent, ruthless asshat who deserved his famous death by fireworks at the end of the movie. However, this is entirely false and I can prove it. So at the start of the movie, there's a creepy dark scene where Shan Yu and his army climb over the Great Wall and threaten the Emperor's guard. We assume that he is forcefully invading with no cause. But wait, let's examine this scene. The movie never tells us about the events leading up to the invasion. Back to the history. To the Great Wall was built by a cruel emperor who wanted to mark his territory according to his own rules and keep other people out. The borders of chosen were not agreed upon at all, and as it turns out, he stole land from different group of people in China, which damn well could have been the Huns. So there is every possibility that Shan Yu is attacking the emperor cause he stole his land. Now I know some of you guys are thinking, but he especially says by building his wall he challenged my strength, and you're right, but let's examine this again. Historically, the Huns are a nomadic people whose leadership can be primarily determined by strength and reliability. If my prior's statement is true that the emperor stole Shan Yu's land, then that would have made Shan Yu look weak to his people, and his only recourse if he wants to stay in power would be attack the emperor. So everything he did was completely logical. This would also explain why he shot one of the two messengers at the beginning of the movie. He can't afford to look weak. He will want to send a message that he is not messed with. The emperor needed to know that he meant business. Also, the movie likes to portray everything Shan Yu does as if it's dipped in evil, but let's examine this again. Shan Yu destroyed a village and kills an army. This is war. Soldiers die a lot. It's product of war. Casualties are expected from both sides. As for the destroying of the village, let's think back to the scene where Li Shang is talking to his father about where they would intercept the Huns. They choose to intercept the Huns at the village, thereby putting the village and all the people in danger. So think back to all of the violence that the Huns were accused of. None of it happened until after they were attacked by the emperor's army. Now let's talk about sexism. So every man in the movie devalues Mulan because she is a girl. However, when Mulan, as a girl not as a pink, tells Shan Yu that she is the one who destroyed his army at the mountain, he believes her right away. He does not underestimate her and believe that it's not possible because she is a girl. He believes that she is only capable but entirely responsible as she claims. And finally, in this intense scene where Shan Yu confronts the emperor, everyone freaks out cause they think he's gonna kill the emperor. But that's absolutely crap. When Shan Yu gets the emperor, he demands that he kneel, which would then have ended the conflict. But instead the emperor insults Shan Yu, calling him the annoying wind to his mountain, and refuses to kneel, thereby forcing Shan Yu to threaten to kill him. Shan Yu would have been fine letting him live, but he wasn't such a pompous jerk. So there you have it. Shan Yu is not actually that bad, and the emperor is a jerk. Thanks for watching. Feel free to check all of the other videos I have made about Mulan. If you like the video, please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button below, and don't forget to share this video with your friends.